Chapter 7. With Gigi. Gigi had been watching Hathaway since he stood up. Her radiant golden hair fluttered around her shoulders. "So why did you laugh earlier?" Hathaway felt relieved. He had asked her without much difficulty. "No reason, really. You hate me, yet you were worried about me then." Gigi's words had a hint of laughter. "Those men on the shuttle were all talking to you. A young guy like me isn't on the same level, so I didn't talk to you. Besides, that's not the reason you laughed. You were thinking something else, weren't you?" "Really? Was I?" Gigi motioned for Hathaway to sit down. Hathaway gave his thanks. Seeing her from the front for the first time, he thought she was beautiful. "You're really quite beautiful." "Thank you." Gigi was used to such praise, yet there wasn't a trace of irony in her words. "Really, you are. Ha 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 ha." Her laugh, full of affirmation and confidence, was also free of irony. Hathaway did not actually know for sure what Gigi had been thinking when she laughed. How did figure out that the hijackers were pretending to be Mafti? He ended up asking a different question. A person's body language always shows it. "Oh, and the reason I laughed was because I realized they were just using Mafti's name," Gigi sighed. "What?" Gigi leaned forward slightly. "Because I knew that name, Mafti Nabiyu Erin, also known as the title of the righteous kind of prophets, belongs to you, Hathaway Noah." "Ha ha 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 ha! Can't you see I'm just your average guy?" It seemed like Gigi had absolutely no interest in Hathaway. She openly turned her gaze to the window, staring out over the wide expanse of the airport. With such a reaction, Hathaway could not find it in him to continue. "I should have brought my ginger ale," he thought. Gigi gave the silent Hathaway a sidelong glance. "Honestly, I like that about you," she said. Hathaway rested his elbows on his knees and clasped his hands, looking up at Gigi. "This girl knows I'm lying." To Hathaway, this meant that he must prepare himself for capture. The Kimberly forces were stationed at this very airport. They're a force organized for the purpose of capturing and exterminating Mafti Erin. As Kenneth had said, the commander until today, Captain Kimberly Heyman, was an incompetent opponent. His lack of ability was also the reason Mafti Erin had been able to move so freely these last 6 months. Even then, Kimberly was currently conducting an invasion of Australia. Kenneth would soon be commanding that force. Commanders like Kenneth were truly scary. The type that pretend to be strong and scary were the easiest to handle. Hathaway shuddered. He thought of saying, "You have no proof." But remembering that Gigi hated excuses, he thought better of it. Instead, he thought of a different way to go about it. "You'll probably hate me for asking like this, but—" "Try it," said Gigi, still looking off to the side. "I'll escape by asking a question. What makes you think that?" "You boarded the Houndsen. You are clearly too young. And there was how you fought, too. There was plenty of circumstantial evidence. Why? People are idiots when it comes to themselves, really. So tell me, think about it. Meeting these guys using Mafti's name, you went off and handed it to them, didn't you?" "Ah!" Hearing Gigi's words, Hathaway finally realized why he had done such a dangerous thing. Gigi, seeing Hathaway's reaction, finally cracked a gentle smile. "Just now, No, never mind. If you talk too much, I will hate you for it. I won't tell anyone else. I don't want to be hated after all. But talking to the person himself is fine, right? It's so thrilling and fun. Anything I say gets a retort, so I won't say more. But don't forget that sometimes words can kill a person. That's not a figure of speech." Hearing Hathaway's words, Gigi moved uncomfortably, taking her hands from her chin and straightening her body. Her face was pale. "That's absolutely something I wouldn't want." This time, it was Hathaway's turn to become speechless. Gigi lacked sensibility, but she was not a girl who liked to talk. Everything she said was what she truly believed, and, because of her belief in the power of words, she did not react much to normal, powerless speech. Of course, this would depend on whom she was talking to, But at the very least, she had not lumped Hathaway in with the sly old politicians. To people that tickled her fancy, she was honest. Gigi Andalucia. I'm not that kind of woman. Really, okay? I know. But you should know that it's also something you should proceed with carefully. Yeah, I've come to realize that lately. I see. It's difficult. Idiot. Hathaway's words seemed to have brought color and sparkly to Gigi's eyes. Then, suddenly, the strength left her body, and she sunk back into her chair. The color in her eyes faded, and she stared blankly at the water droplets collecting on a glass. "Hey, hero!" Another cabinet minister slapped Hathaway on the back before moving on to another group. "Even if it was speculation on your part, it hurts to be told the truth." Gigi nodded, her chin still sunk into her collarbone. "Let's forget about this conversation." "I won't forget. It's the same for you, right?" Hathaway remained silent. "Excuse me?" The black-haired young man from the Bureau of Investigation that had been with Chief Gigi was calling from off to the side. He announced that he wanted to question Gigi first. Gigi hopped to her feet as if to shake off her fatigue and headed towards the lobby entrance. Oh boy. The unpleasant nature of the event had forced Hathaway to steel his resolve. Escape was difficult. Hathaway did not know how the Kimberly forces, who were stationed at the base, were deployed. Hathaway returned to the table with his ginger ale and sat facing the window. One of the island's regular flights was just taking off on the runway. That same sight had continued for 100 years. A month ago, Hathaway had seen reconnaissance photos of the airport, but those didn't tell him the extent of Kimberly Force's equipment or manpower. That was the reason, after all, that Hathaway had made the trip to the moon in search of new mobile suits. The sooner Gauman and the others come, the worse the timing will be, thought Hathaway. Hathaway remembered the faces of his comrades he had not seen in over a month. When it was decided that Hathaway would return on the Honzen, he had considered several crisis avoidance strategies. In the case that Hathaway was caught in a situation and unable to act, Gauman would attack some nearby place. The attack would help Hathaway avoid suspicion and give him an opportunity to escape. A large number of staff had also been stationed in the Hong Kong area to check on Hathaway's status. As for Davao, it was in close proximity to the base where Hathaway and the others were planning to carry out their campaign, so there were likely a larger than average number of liaison officers hiding in the area. But Hathaway was not in a position to figure out whether they were aware of the day's events. The phone in the lobby might be wiretapped. He couldn't risk using that. The ad hoc questioning by the Bureau of Investigation was being held in the VIP room next door. The cabinet ministers and their wives, upon finishing their questioning, greeted Hathaway before heading off to their designated hotels. It was probably the authorities' decision to save Hathaway for last. For the person waiting, though, it was like waiting to step up onto the execution platform. Gigi returned in less than 10 minutes. After ordering a new juice to replace her unfinished one from the hostess, she sat down next to Hathaway. "Are you tired?" "What?" Hathaway was forced to consider again that something was wrong with Gigi's head. Gigi had forgotten about her down moment from before. Her speech was so casual that it seemed she had completely forgotten about their earlier conversation. "Well, yay." What else was he supposed to say? "They'll take us to the hotel by limousine. I'll be waiting, okay?" Gigi put the card in her hand on the table in front of Hathaway. It was a Tassa Day hotel membership card. "You'll wait? What?" "I want to see the hotel, so let's go together." "Oh." Hathaway felt himself relaxing at Gigi's words. This was Gigi. If she had been told about the hotel after questioning, then she had heard about Hathaway's lodgings, too. In other words, she hadn't said anything to get Hathaway arrested. "I see." Hathaway looked again at Gigi, her body stretched out and facing away from the window. "What kind of girl are you?" Gigi tilted her face, smiling and lifting up her hair with one hand. I want to be free. Look, the truth is difficult to see, right? If I want to know the truth, sometimes I have to be careful. Your drink is ready. Thank you very much. Gigi politely gave her thanks to the hostess before putting the straw in her mouth. Hathaway watched the juice disappear up the straw. Gigi's eyes were questioning. No, I was just thinking that the juice's color was beautiful, not to mention your lips as well. Is that some expression of thanks? That too, but I'm just happy you're energetic again. I'm just fine. That's the reason I came to Earth, after all. Are you going to live in Hong Kong? No, I think the mountains of Japan will be nice. Japan? Can you get in? I can. I see. I'd like to visit. My mother's ancestors are from there. So that's why you're making that face. Gigi put her glass down and stared at Hathaway's face. Stop that. Looking at you like that makes me want to say it. Say what? Mafty's methods aren't the right way. If you have a better idea, please say it. Mafty will listen. I do have one. Gigi had not lost her serious expression. Hathaway was surprised by the smooth, effortless reply. And what would that be? If you want something without fail, then you need to establish the ideal dictatorship. Ha ha ha. Hathaway laughed to deflect Gigi's truth-filled words. For some looking between the people, for someone looking at society's problems from the outside, that was the truth. Is that weird? For the first time, Gigi had put on a dissatisfied, childlike expression. Well, you're right. But any human that can do such a thing is a god. Then you'll just have to become a god. Well, yes, but by the time such a person appears, all of humanity will have become gods. Oh, you're talking about new types? Yay. Reality isn't pretty. We aren't there yet. Even taking control of local governments isn't easy. A political takeover of an entity of the Earth Federation government's caliber isn't something that can be done by the will of a single individual. I see. Organizations built by humanity aren't to be trifled with. That's why they are so huge. It's quite troublesome. But hijacking is terrible, too. It was a scary ordeal. You're right. And being killed is even scarier. I think so, too. Hathaway really did think so. Mr. Hathaway, please. It was the young man from the Bureau of Investigation. Well then. Gigi rested her hands on her knees. Okay, I'll be waiting.